A lot of African first daughters or the eldest daughters in African homes do not get to be kids as they're supposed to be. A lot of them grow up to have very many responsibilities that honestly they have no business being in. At least that's what I think. And I think that's the case with Regina Daniels. And if you have heard her story, or at least I'll give you a background of a story we've not heard about her and her I don't want to call him ancestor, but he's pretty old. The guy, the senator guy that married her, but they say they're not married legally according to the Nigerian culture. But then again, I don't want to talk about the guy. I want to talk about the lady because the lady is who my mind has been stuck on. Hi guys, I'm Omboy and welcome to the Shift podcast. So today I really want to talk about the Regina Daniels and Ned Nwoko case. Is it a case or is it's just the pop gist or the internet culture gist currently? But unfortunately, it is the case with a lot of African eldest daughters because for the case of Regina Daniels, if you take your time, I took my time and tried to research because she started acting at the age of 7. At the age of 7, she was doing Nollywood, but she got married to this guy at the age of 17. They say 17 or 18, but mostly that's because of legal basis. But she started acting at the age of 17. This means that that girl started making money for her family when she was pretty young. So when she wanted to get married, or when that man wanted to get married to her, because I saw an interview of him explaining how he chose her, and it's pretty creepy to say the less, yeah, because their difference in age is weird. But from what I've read is the mom was for the marriage because I understand that she was the financial, like the key or the sole financial provider for the family, even when she was young. So if she was acting from the age of 7, I'd like to think even by the time she was 14-year old, she was still acting. The mom was still getting money from her. And and then I went ahead and watched a couple of her wedding videos. She seemed pretty sad in their wedding videos, but the mom was very happy. You think she was the one who was getting married, and that's the thing. This young girl was a parent even when she was like 7 years old as a preteen. She was the one who was providing for the family. And I guess from the mom's point of view, when she saw that she was going to be married to this powerful politician, she saw this as another out for her family because now she was going to also provide for them again. Now, this is quite it's quite sad when I think about it because if your own parents are going to pimp you out because you're going to get something from you, that's the saddest thing you could ever hear from. I swear that's the saddest thing you could do to a young girl. However, on Regina's side, I think from her side, she was doing what she knows how to do. Because if you've been providing for your family since you were 7 years old, and then an opportunity comes at you when you are now she's an opportunity comes at you when you're 17, 10 years later, and you're like, this could be the rest of my life. It doesn't matter if I'm the fourth or sixth wife, however, but it's still an opportunity economically to keep your family at float. So why not take it? However, I understand that when a lot of people are looking at this story, especially on the internet, they're looking at it from a lens of she's just another woman who wanted a high life and she's getting the raw end of it because there has been a couple of videos coming up in the past couple of weeks, I think 1 or 2 weeks, showing that she has been in an abusive relationship with the man and she has been addicted to drugs. Even I do not think that there is anybody who's not going to be addicted to drugs when you're married to such an old guy. I think that's the least you could expect from her. Also, I think that's the sadness thing you could do for any woman. You have to remain sober. And then on top of that, they currently have two sons, and I think right now she is 25 years old. Hence, I think she's coming back to her senses and realizing, what the hell did I get myself into? However, there is this conversation online where a lot of women are finding it hard to sympathize with her. But then again, I want to maybe point out an unconscious bias for a lot of women. They are refusing to sympathize with her because, according to them, she saw an out and took it. Because a lot of women would have. Unfortunately, she was really young to understand the kind of commitment she's getting herself into. At 17 years old, nobody or no woman has the kind of mental ability or cognitive ability to make such a huge decision, to especially to become a fourth or fifth wife. I'm not too sure what number of wife she's at. She did not have that capacity. However, a lot of women carry some sort of jealousy because of the kind of life she's been living online. She's been living a high life nonetheless. She's been living such a life, and such a life has been according to her because of the kind of access she's had. If she started acting at 7, the kind of caliber of people that are going to be around her are, of course, going to be of such stature. But then again, I also need people not to minimize her experience just because she made very weird choices. And again, she was not a 17-year-old woman. She was a 17-year-old girl, because there is usually a very huge difference when you're comparing the decisions that women or girls make at a very young age, because you think that they are older and they can make very big or very huge decisions, but then again, they are still children. Regina Daniels was a child. That's how I see it. And then now, moving forward, I've seen a lot of women say that they're finding it hard to sympathize with her because, according to them, this is something that she brought on herself. You see the story that we have in the hypergamy story, where everybody wants to get married to a rich guy, and then when and then you choose to do what? How does that saying go? It's better to get married in a what? No, not married. It's better to cry in a Lamborghini. No, heri nilie kwenye Range Rover ama nicheke kwenye barabara. But then again, I don't know why we are crying. Me, I don't know why I have to choose between either. Why do I have to choose between being being rich and being happy and poor? No, why? And why is that option only given to women? I do not understand it. But then again, according to her, there's a time, I've seen a lot of people say there's a time she said, I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini. And granted, depending on the kind of life she's lived, she's allowed to choose that kind of life. But then again, if we put all this on money, because a lot of women are bitter about the kind of life and the kind of choices that Regina Daniels have made because of money, and they are bitter about it because she actually has led a very good life because of that money. So, baby girl, if you're mad at her for choosing that life, isn't it that you wish it were you that was in her position? You get? But then again, right now, I've also gone through a lot of Nigerian videos, by the way, to see how that story is going. So according to that story is, there after the fights, apparently this guy, this old Ned Noko, this very ancient guy, was physically abusive to Regina. And when he was physically abusive to Regina, they were living with the brother. And when they were living with the brother came to the defense of the sister, and now the brother is in jail. And he had refused, and this senator guy had refused to let the brother go, which is kind of weird, because I wonder, as in the police and the senator, anyway, we're in Africa. But so now, this guy, now the husband, the Ned Nook guy, is obligated to give, not obligated, what's the word? Give now Regina her conditions to release the brother, and one of the conditions is for her to get back with him. And if I were to give my 2 cents that nobody has asked for, I do not think that Regina will not go back to him. She will actually go back to the guy. Why? Because the kind of life that Regina is exposed to and is used to, the private jets, the champagnes and all that, I do not think she's going to live that life. this fast, unless she has the capacity to provide it for herself. Also, it's also because that a couple of days ago I saw her give an apology, a public apology, for people to stop bashing her mom. And this shows that, according to her, she's doing everything she's doing for her family. And if the mother agrees that the best decision for her is to go back to the guy so they can maintain their lifestyle, because I bet she's providing a lifestyle for the family too, she will go back. And the only reason that I do not think she's in a position to get out right now is because she's not in any position to provide that lifestyle for herself. And that's a conversation maybe for another day, or maybe you can have a little about it today, because at the end of the day, no no man or no person should be able to hold, like, to dangle a carrot in front of you so that you can stay with them even when they're abusive to you. That's why you're told every day nothing on this earth, including a lunch, is for free. If you cannot afford something for yourself, especially as a woman, even for a man, if you cannot afford something for yourself, you'd rather weigh the options and see, can I live with it? Can I not? Because also she's putting out a lot of heart Instagram posts. There's so much back and forth between her and the husband that it's a lot of bad, because I feel like if you are not in a position to regulate yourself, you are not in a position to even leave such a toxic relationship. Because given the stature or the position they both are in, they should have been able to control that. But then again, do I believe that she's going to leave the guy? No. At least not yet. Because it's too public and people's egos, especially men's ego, are involved. And then is the guy going to release the brother? Yes, eventually, because she's going to live up to the, what do you call them, the conditions that he has put in place. You see, and even in Kenya, I've seen a couple of stories of this. There's this girl, a TikTok sensation. Her name is it Malia Kibe? Yes, Malia Kibe. That story was so sad because the mother even went on live. So, backstory: the story about Malia Kibe's story is, she's a lady here in Kenya, and then she's doing really good for herself, but then again at the same time she was supporting her family, right? Together hapo zote pamoja. Then I think she started dating like a white guy, and then when she started dating a white guy, she started to do good for herself. But then she was doing good for herself, which was okay. But then again, when she started doing good for herself, the mom now started being entitled to her money that she. I think she's either working for the money or she's. I do not go. That's none of my business anyway. The point is, the mom is entitled to whatever cash flow this babe has. Now, from that, the mom even went on live to disown her, saying how she does nothing for them. Yet, according to the babe, she's the one who's paying the school fees. She's the one who's paying the other siblings' rent and all that. And it's quite sad when you see such things happening, because, and then when you go through the comment section of such stories, you realize that this is the case with a lot of ladies. It is the case with a lot of young girls, because they were given the responsibility that was not supposed to be on them. When you give birth to a child, your work is to know that you being a parent never ends. If you decide to have children, do not make the older one the parent of the other ones. Do not give birth to a number of kids that you know you cannot support. Do not be entitled to help from your children, because the way life goes, money should never go downwards. It should always go upwards. At least that's what I believe, which is never especially with us and black tax, it's not always the case. But that's what I believe. But we do what you have to do. And you find that a lot of African parents do not care how you get your money. They just want your money. And it's quite sad, because when you see the kind of backlash such ladies get now, when you look at the Regina Daniels story, you look at the Malia Kiba story, you look at such girls, you realize that, yes, life is going to hand you cards, and how you play them is you're going to be blamed for whatever circumstances or whatever results you're going to get. Nobody cares about why you made such decisions. But also, at the end of the day, just make decisions that make sense to you. Us, we will yap to the end of the world, but we're not going to help you in any way. The most we can do is now just sit here and talk like we are talking right now. But then again, that's it for today. Please subscribe, share, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.